Very good. All the important people here? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So as I did promise yesterday, that we're going to go on to right endeavour. I've got here number 6, usually called right effort. It's called Vayama. The problem I always had with the effort, spending lots of time practicing effort as a young man, as a young monk, they always tend to get you tense and get you very inflexible, but not pleasantly so. If it was coming from effort, it tended just to get you tired. And of course, I mentioned the first part of the first teaching of the Buddha, the 2 extremes. And one of those extremes is Atta Gilamatanu Yoga. It literally means practices which tire you and exhaust you. And so in striving, never gave me the idea or the experience that that was something which meant effort. It's much more like an endeavour or restraint. But I'm going to call it endeavour for the time being, and then we can see by how it's defined in the 4 types of right effort, endeavour, striving, whatever, and then we can see what it really, really means. So there are these 4 right endeavours. It's restraint, abandoning, development, and preservation. And what is the endeavour to restrain? When you see an object, you do not let yourself get sucked in by any characteristics or features that generates defilements. Since if you left the faculty of sight unrestrained, unskillful states of wanting and aversion would afflict you. Instead, you practice wisdom when seeing. You guard the faculty of sight, and you undertake the restraint of sight. The same with sound. Notice the smell, sense the taste, felt a bodily feeling, or having cognized something in the mind. You do not let yourself get sucked in by any characteristics or features that generate defilements. Since you left the mind faculty unrestrained, unskillful states of wanting and aversion would afflict you. Instead, you practice wisdom with the mind. You guard the mind, and you undertake restraint of the mind. So this is when you may be going past the shops, and you see this really amazing, like a car, a Ferrari, if you like cars. You may see this wonderful Ducati motorbike. You may see this incredible handbag, or whatever it is you see in the shops, and you think, if I don't practice restraint, then you get sucked in, and you want it, you want to buy it. A gentleman, and I couldn't believe this happened, that he came to Nolamara Temple, and he said, would you like to have a TV? Now, a big flat-screen TV. Said, as monks, we don't have TVs. Oh, you don't for the monks' quarters. Watch documentaries. No, we don't have TVs. What about in your centre somewhere, where you can show important documentaries? I said, no, we don't need a TV. He said, well, I brought one for you, without even asking whether they want one. I said, what do you buy it for? Why do you need one for home? I said, no, I've got plenty of TVs at home. Now, why did you buy it? Because it was on sale. And that was the only reason he bought that TV, because it was on sale. It was a bargain, something he couldn't miss, he couldn't walk by. So sometimes I don't know, maybe you can tell me afterwards, that's beyond my sphere of wisdom. But if you don't leave the sense faculties unrestrained, of course you get sucked in and you buy these things when you don't even need them. Or the other thing is, you see something you really don't like, and it's that person again. They hurt you last time, and you see them, and they haven't even said anything yet. They could be nice and kind. But as soon as you see them, the states of wanting and even fear can afflict you. So instead, you practice restraint with what you see, what you smell, what you hear. Just you don't allow yourself to get, I like the word sucked in, because it reaffirms what I was saying with watching TVs. I'd say watching movies on the TV or football matches. You do get sucked in, you don't follow restraint. You let yourself because you want some excitement or you want some emotional journey of a movie. And you get sort of sucked in there. And that means you are going to generate unwholesome defilements or anything of these things which can really create a lot of problems for you and for others as well. So when we have endeavor of restraint, it means restraining the senses, we feel peaceful. We don't get sucked in, we don't get excited or want stuff, we don't have any problems to do. So this is called that restraint of the mind, restraint of the senses. And the endeavor to abandon. And what is the endeavor to abandon? Here, you do not maintain an arisen motivation of wanting. You abandon it, letting go, renounce it, bring it to cessation. So you do see some wanting, some lust, craving come inside of you. You notice it, and you find a way not to develop it and accept it and embrace it and just celebrate it. Any of those wantings is going to cause trouble later on. So you just renounce it. You find ways, so arisen motivations of wanting, you let it go. What we do as monks, it's whenever we have a novice ordination, and that young man in the back is going to be ordaining as a samanera in how many days' time? A week today. Ooh. And he may get upset at me saying this, but he is a little bit old in the tooth. But if it's a young fellow becomes ordained, they're still young in the prime of their life and still got a lot of hormones going through their body. So sometimes, that it explains why it's been the custom in all ordinations, even for women, for little novice nuns, to do the 5 recollections, the 5 meditations, sometimes they say. And those meditations, hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And as Stephen knows, he has to memorize those words in Pali, and we do a little examination as part of the ordination procedure. It's been going on for over 2,500 years. But I always wondered why. Why to young novices, male and female, they have to do these 5 recollections: hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And then after many years of reflection, I have my theory of why we do this. And it's ordered to restrain the senses, especially if someone sees a really beautiful beautiful girl coming into the monastery, or a hot guy, if you're a lovely nun. And if you see somebody who's attractive coming in, you're supposed to remember the 5 reflections: hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. So you may see Taylor Swift walk into this retreat center. And do you get excited, or do you watch hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin? You look at her hair. It's all dead. Because, remember your biology, the hair of the head over here, that's dead stuff. The roots, the thing which is alive, is actually underneath the scalp. So all you see over here, the head, is just dead matter. It's true. That's why you can cut your hair and you don't scream. You cut my finger and I'll scream. So, hair of the head, dead. Hair of the body, that's dead too. Now they do have little, you can see, I remember a girl from once, she had a little moustache on here. She was really, well she did, really, really upset when I pointed it out to her. It's true. Anyway, you can't, it's only tiny one, you can just see it a little bit. And anyway, the hair of the body, that's dead stuff too. And skin. This over here, the epidermis, whatever it's called, that's the dead stuff. It keeps flaking off. Underneath that, maybe 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, that is alive. The outside is dead. Nails, dead. Live stuff, you can't see, it's hidden. And teeth. That doesn't hurt. The live stuff is the root inside. So, when you see hair of the head, it's dead. Hair of the body, that's dead. Nails, dead. Teeth, dead. Skin, dead. So if you see like Taylor Swift come in, all dead stuff. Who want to touch that? Kiss, ugh. Dead skin. Nice hair, ugh. Dead stuff. And the same if that's, I don't know, who's the hot guy these days? Is it hot guy these days in the movies? I know. Was it Ed Sheeran? No, isn't it? Is he hot? You better be careful what you say, otherwise I'm not ordaining you. But anyway, just dead stuff, that's all it is. So what it really is doing. Now, that's not for a person to get grossed out. What it's really doing is just balancing. So if you see something very beautiful, you just balance it with a negative. If you get very upset, negative to somebody, you balance it with a positive. So in other words, you get this even, so you don't have wanting, not aversion, but just, there's the human being coming into the temple. So that's when we can abandon arisen lusts, wanting, desires, or arisen aversions. If something aversion, something you really don't like. Just living in Thailand with so many snakes around. And so instead of getting averse to snakes or getting upset at snakes, they're just animals in the forest. You soon got an empathy for them. They went their way, you went your way. You just had this wonderful, peaceful coexistence with the snakes. Remember many lovely snake stories. There was one when I was early in the morning. I'd be meditating all night. We used to do that once a week. And then go out in the jungle, to urinate. And urinating the Asian style, squatting down. Much more comfortable. But so I was squatting down, urinating, and it was the first light, so it wasn't that bright. So you could, see where you were going. when you were a bit tired, meditating all night. And as I squatted down to urinate in the forest, I really did think that I was urinating on a stick, until the stick started moving. And I was literally peeing on a snake. And it was a very venomous snake as well. It was very dangerous. But, for you guys, I always say the guys, you can only empathize with this. Women maybe a little bit. The most sensitive part of your body was about that far from the snake's mouth. No protection. That was dangerous. But that snake, that didn't bite me at all. It didn't actually try and escape. It just moved a little bit, and then just lay there. I thought, why doesn't it get angry and upset? Why does it run away? And I thought afterwards, I should have known it straight away. Now that was in Thailand, in a very good forest monastery, and that snake, he must have felt, now this is how I read his mind, that he was being blessed by holy water. Also, it was warm holy water in the middle as well. So, give me more, snake says. I don't get onto that one, I don't know, anyway. But no, aversion, that's right. So, if you have aversion, even to like snakes, you find out you're afraid, they're afraid, and then you sometimes get into trouble. But, if you have no aversion, you just calm that down. It's amazing how safe you can be. So, this is abandon. If these things are already up, they have wanting, aversion, you abandon it, let it go, renounce it, and bring it to cessation. That's called the effort to abandon. Now you see, even those ones, to get rid of something, to restrain it, you sort of put up some guards. It's not an effort as much as making sure you protect yourself. You have your strategies in place, so these things don't obsess you. You don't go moving towards something, trying to grab it and attain it. It's always a not doing, a prevention, a restraint, an abandoning. So they do give, though, that ways that you can let go of these unwholesome mind states. When you are mindful of some object and there arises you an afflicting unwholesome motivations connected with desire, aversion and delusion, then you should give attention to some other object that generates wholesome mind states. Thus unwholesome states are abandoned and subside, and with their disappearance your mind becomes internally steady, settled, unified and still. So this is just called substitution. So if you see some part of a person and you get really upset at them, look for some other part of them which substitute what they say. They may be saying, "Oh, you idiot monk." And then you look at what they've been saying. Look at some other thing. Oh, they must be really upset today. They must be all like, somebody once told me that if you ever have a boss from hell, remember you only have to work with them for maybe 40, 50 hours a week. They have to live with themselves 24/7, including public holidays. You can escape from them, they can't. So seeing something else which actually balances, your aversion, there's some sort of compassion, some sympathy. If somebody you think, oh, they're so lucky, they just get so wealthy, they can come and go wherever they want, and then just balance that desire or jealousy with something. Well, they have to have so many responsibilities and burdens. They have to go with security guards. They're not got as much freedom as you've got. So those are the sorts of things which would balance. And so give attention to some other object which balances your perceptions. Or you should examine the danger in those unwholesome motives. Look, if I still have that lust towards that person, then it will just, I've already got one partner. But if I go and just get another partner as well, It's enough having one husband, one wife, and to get another one. Of course you like that person, but there's a danger in it. So you see the danger in these things. Or you just want to go and that wonderful new, I don't know what, the newest electric car. Oh, wonderful. But then the danger in that is you can't afford it. And the bank will not take the car back, it will take your house back as well. Because you've cheated on the loan. So try and find out the dangers. And if that doesn't work, you should try to ignore those unwholesome motives. Do not give attention to them. So again, if you do see somebody really upsets you, always tells you off, sometimes it's okay just to you see them coming across the street. If you don't sort of associate with them. And this is also that, people who, they're happily married, they've got a nice partner, and then someone in the office, tries to hit off on them, flirt with them or something. What do? You try and avoid. Make sure you're not in the same room together. Make sure that, you never, just like that time I was a student, and I think, the first of my group of friends got married, and we were at the reception, after the marriage ceremony was over, we had a reception, all my mates, the same group who, go and watch the West Side Story, that story I told this morning, all your old mates, at college, and young men in our suits, just discussing, who's going to be next. This is the scariest memory I've got from those days. Some of you know it. And so we're just big, stupid young men. So who's going to be next? And they looked at one of my friends. He's going to be next. Next one to get married. And then we all decided amongst us, no one would marry him. And then the next one they pointed to was me. They said, my name was Peter. Before I said, Peter, he'll be the next one who gets married. And then, of course, the same thing they replied. All my mates said, no girl would marry him. And I thought that was enough, but then there just happened to be this girl who was standing right next to me. And when she heard, and everybody was laughing, no one would marry Peter, she whispered in my ear, I would. I've never been so scared in my life. And that's where I ignored that girl. I was made sure there was a long distance between me and her, poor girl, and I did not give attention to her at all. So that's avoidance. Poor girl. But anyway, she was good that she never married me. And the other way around too. And so ignore the motives. Don't pay attention to them. Just take another object. Or you should give attention to studying the cause of those motives. Go underneath them. Why have you got that lust or that ill will or that wanting? Why do you want to go shopping? Why do you want to go and take addictive substances? Why? You find out the reason behind them. And of course, again, mentioned many times with addictions, it is because you don't really think you're worth being healthy, being free. Or it could be just bad habits. Or it could be many reasons. Sometimes some underlying trauma, the way we sort of escape from just being with this moment. Sometimes if the moment is unpleasant, we all have unpleasant times, maybe not sleep at night, you feel a bit tired, you feel a bit sick, you're low energies. And those times it's so easy to turn on the TV and watch stupid stuff, anything, because you're tired, or to take sort of alcohol or drugs. And you find that quick fix for big problems afterwards. So it's much better is to stay with the unpleasant feeling, the yuckiness of this moment, because it does pass, and you get much stronger afterwards. Whenever you feel a bit down and life is grey and a bit unfair and instead of making it worse by going to addictive substances, we just stay here. Soon the sun comes out. As said, I think somewhere recently, it's just like the winter times, which I grew up with in England. Everything looked dead around February or March. Outside it was cold. No animals were really around. And there was just maybe a couple of birds in the sky. All the little animals were hiding. They're hibernating. And there was no flowers coming out. And all the leaves were like skeletons. The deciduous trees which drop their leaves. But then you get comes April, May. Then it just explodes in colours and flowers and birds and bees and just everything just is almost like a different country. And so that's one of the reasons why that you always hang out a little bit longer. Those seasons of life, fellas, that it does pass. So hang in there. Wait, watch these things change. When they do change, you didn't have to just try and escape. Just hang in there, and then when it comes good, see that, and then you realize you don't need to disappear into addictions. You can be with life, and it's not so bad. So give attention to stilling the cause of those motives. Why are you just fantasizing or getting angry? So you just leave that alone. Or just as a very, very last resort, clench your teeth with your tongue pressed against the roof of your mouth and keep down, constrain, and crush in. I'm putting my tongue at the roof of my mouth and crush any afflicting unwholesome motives. So, but that's only in cases of dire emergency. In other words, you're just about to creep up to Ajahn Brahm's room and just to kill him with an axe because of all these stupid jokes he says, and you've had enough of these stupid jokes. Please put forth effort at that point. Strive, clench your teeth, and just constrain any murderous thoughts against your teacher. In other words, it's only in extremes you go that far, because it is very, very, it's not really good you even got to that place where you have to use such force. So most of the time here, it's like using wisdom power. Giving attention to some other object. Examine the danger in those unwholesome motives. Or ignore them, give attention to finding out the causes of those things. It's only the one there at the very end. But it's not wisdom power, it's just you're in big trouble, so make sure you just stop before something terrible happens. So that's the effort, the energy, or the endeavor to actually to abandon things which have already arisen. Number one is restraining the bad stuff. Number two is abandoning stuff which is already there. First, closing the door to it, and kick him outside the house. If you, your house, your mind, your heart, your body, your life, if they are unwholesome. And the next one is to develop. And the developing wholesome qualities, this is one of the greatest ways, the best ways to stop unwholesome things coming in your mind, like wanting, ill will, jealousy. One of the best ways to stop that is to fill up the house with good people. Now, one of the best ways to have security in your house from burglars is to have trustworthy people staying in your house. If you have trustworthy people staying in the house is there, the burglars say, oh, it's just too dangerous, too many good people here, so we'll go next door. Should have said that, should I? But they won't go in your house because it's full of good people. So one of the best ways of having your mind to have full of good qualities, to have no opportunity for bad qualities to come up, is to fill it up with good qualities. So what are the endeavor to develop? Here you develop the enlightenment factor of mindfulness. This is the 7 enlightenment factors we'll come across later, I'm sure. Exploring the Dhamma. Remember what I was saying about exploring, not thinking. Thinking makes you tired, and thinking. There was a university over here in Australia, Monash University. They said if you think that you have found everything, think again. And I just said, what are you talking about? Just more headaches. Because thinking is like you had a field and you've got everything out of that field. You go over it again and over it again. You may see something left over by some other philosopher or some other professor. Now, how about looking at a completely different field? So don't think again. Just stop the thinking and see things from a totally different angle. Stop thinking. Start seeing. That's what I call exploring. And just like exploring, sometimes you go exploring around the grounds of Jhana Grove. You go exploring. Exploring, you don't have a map telling you where to go. You just go exploring, you go here, oh that looks interesting, wonder what's over there. And you go somewhere else and find out what's over there. And you explore the grounds. You're not told where to go. That's not exploration. Then you find some really interesting little nooks and crannies of this compound. That's what exploration is. Sometimes you go down and see little ducks swimming in the lake, or you might see some incredible birds in the grounds. Night time, you may even be able, maybe a possum. See the little animals. This time of the year, it's just. Hey, it's actually true. It's not until when the little baby. Yeah, there should be some baby joeys in the pouch coming up soon. Well, the year's gone pretty quickly. Usually, August, when it starts getting warm, you see the two-headed animal in the forest. They got one up here and a little one up down here, little joey. Very beautiful when you see those. And I've been in, 35 years I've been living here. You always enjoy that when you see these little joeys come out of the pouch for the first time. All legs and arms and just really gangly and thin. And they come out and they're just like bouncy balls. Boing, boing, boing. And then boing, boing, boing back to mum and boing, boing, boing over there. They're so bouncy, the little joeys. And it's something to look forward to. It should be coming soon. July, August, yeah. So you may see some of the kangaroos a little bit fat down, and if you're very lucky, it's a nice warm afternoon, you may see a little head poke up. Really cute. Have you seen any yet? I haven't seen. Oh, there's lots of kangaroos. Sorry? Lots of kangaroos, yeah. So, yeah, I got the time right. Anyway, so it's exploring the Dhamma. We explore things, and that's the beauty outside. You explore the beauty inside. And mindfulness, exploring the Dhamma, and you get energy. That energy is... You get energy when you just go walking through the forest and well, that's interesting. Wow, that's really nice. It starts to get you interested. And because you're not thinking too much, again, you don't worry about past and future. You're exploring the present moment. You're not worried about past and future. You're not getting sort of exhausted. I hope that many of you got energized by now. At least enough to you get up in the morning, go for a little walk, have a nice cup of tea. You know you don't have to be at the chanting or have to be at the meditation. You can just go for a nice little walk and see what's around. Find a nice place, you sit down. You start to relax. When you relax, you do get energized. You're not dragging yourself through the day. There's a bit of a spring in your step. And that's the energy comes up. And that's what I was saying this morning. Sometimes you're energized, you're exploring, you see something and you stop and you start to see some amazing things in this forest. You get rapture. The rapture is just this happiness. You get so enjoyed seeing simple things. Wow, that's so nice, that's so interesting. You get joy coming up. Those are the positive qualities to develop. You're developing happiness. And just simple things make you happy. Just the joy of just seeing the sunset. Probably get a sunset this evening because there's a few clouds, but not that many. And I don't know, you can see the sunset from here, from the kitchen, but a nice place to go and see that sunset is at the lookout, just on the way to Bodhinyana Monastery. And often I see it about 6 o'clock or 5:30 this time of the year, see the people walking back from the lookout because it's a beautiful view over there, see the sunset. So, and that's beautiful to see. Yeah, the sunset's always there, but we're too busy to go and look at it. But now you've got all the time in the world, just go and see. Then you get tranquility. When you have joy, you feel satisfied. You don't feel the pangs of hunger, you need something. You're settled, you're full, peaceful, because it's called tranquility. It's satisfaction. You can get that. One of my old friends, he could never get any satisfaction. Mr. Jagger. That was a joke. Remember Mick Jagger, Rolling Stones? I can't get no satisfaction. But he should have become a monk. He got lots of satisfaction. Anyway, the tranquility. And from the tranquility, the stillness, it just builds. Now, all of these things, you see, you don't get them through trying. Trying just wears out your energy. The rapture comes naturally, tranquility, stillness. Still. Stillness. And the equanimity, that's the upekkha at the very end. Every one of which is based upon seclusion, bringing yourself in, physical and mental, things fading away, cessation, maturing and released. The endeavor to develop. Those are the enlightenment factors, by the way. That's how they grow. And of course the last one is the endeavor to maintain. You got some peace, you got some tranquility, you got some happiness. Don't throw it away so quickly. So sometimes that happens. You get really peaceful, the mind becomes still, and you're enjoying it. Okay, let's do Vipassana now. Stop it. Vipassana happens naturally. You just go still and peaceful. Just let it happen. Don't interfere, but maintain the stillness. Maintain the clarity. Don't throw it away. And so here you keep in mind an arisen meditation object that generates stillness. There's recollecting the Buddha, the Dhamma, or the Sangha, or a skeleton, or a loving kindness, or the breath, or a nimitta. The skeleton meditation, again, it's weird skeleton meditation because sometimes I was taught you do that to realize that's all people are. Bones covered by skin, nothing you really want to desire. Who wants to hug a skeleton? But what really happens if you do, I've got a nice skeleton in my room. The skeleton's an old one apparently. Some doctor or somebody gave it to me, about 300 or 400 years old. Real one, it's not one of these fake plastic ones these days. And I use it as to keep out burglars. If somebody comes into the room, it's a skeleton. So instead of these other burglar alarms you get these days, and rings and ding, 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 over in Nolamara Centre they installed a burglar alarm. Okay? And it was to some control centre somewhere in town. When it was first put in, and I came for a Friday evening, I'm first in there, and so when I came in the door, the burglar alarm went off. And because I had to look in the book, what was it to turn it off, so I turned it off, and then I got the telephone call from the control centre. And I answered the phone and said, "Is everything okay there?" And said, "Yes, thank you." And he said, "Okay." That could have been the burglar. Well, if that was a real burglar, what would the burglar say? Would he say, "No, it's not okay, there's a burglar here"? It's totally stupid, some of the things which people do. So much for the state of the art. Of course, there was a fellow over in Sydney, and he was fed up with having to, if you don't get your security alarms and double locks and cameras and stuff, you have to pay extra premium for your insurance. And the insurance premiums are really expensive these days. And so he got really fed up because his house would have to look like a prison, to actually get reasonable security and get his insurance premiums down. And he said, "Why do I have to do this? Pay so much." Then he had a wonderful idea, and now he's got free surveillance, and he doesn't have to pay a cent. He took away all the bars from his window, all of the double locks, all the security cameras. All he did, he went to it's called Bunnings. It's the hardware store, and he got a flagpole. He planted the flagpole in his front yard, and he managed to sew up or paint or get somewhere an ISIS flag. And he's got the ISIS flag in the front of his house, and now he gets 24/7 free security from the ACO, the Federal Australian Police, and also probably the CIA, constantly monitoring him. That is free security. So anyway, that's okay. So where did I get this from? Oh, where am I going? Anyway, they close to develop, and that's the skeleton thing. That's what I kind of did. My goodness me. But anyway, it's strange what happens. That many people, they get a skeleton to watch. First of all, it's weird. It's a bit strange. But you focus on it. No matter how many people they do the skeleton meditation, or especially the skull, and after a while it just grabs your attention. It's sort of weird and interesting. You haven't done it before. It's unusual, but it's quite easy to focus on. You can close your eyes, you can visualize the skeleton, and it starts to become very bright. Remember I mentioned it, the whites become deeper whites than ever before. Because of the stillness, you're not doing anything, it grabs your attention. And it's very, very bright, like it's been polished. And it becomes luminous. It becomes one of these nimittas. Lots of people actually get that. They'll just think it's a bit weird at first, and then they watch it, and then they close their eyes, and they can actually visualize. It's pretty easy to visualize. Try that now yourself. Close your eyes. Can you visualize the skeleton? Yeah, go on. And you focus on it. It's weird, isn't it? Strange seeing a skeleton. And then after a while, stay like that because it's new, interesting. After a while, it starts to get very clear and very luminous. Okay, you can open your eyes now. So this is sometimes what you can do with something like a skeleton. It's something primeval in us, but it sort of grabs our attention. Anyway, those are good meditation objects, which is not negative. It generates stillness and easy to watch. The recollection of the Buddha, the Dhamma, or the Sangha, loving kindness. I haven't done much on loving kindness yet, but obviously we'll do. Beautiful loving kindness. And you can combine these things. Like loving kindness on the breath. Your breath is looked after you all your life. Have you ever said thank you to your breath? Even when you are asleep at night, the breath still does its work. It never stops. Always looking after you, getting just the right amount of air in, and just allowing all of the used products to come out. Beautiful little thing, this breath. When you're working hard or running or walking up the hill, you're out of breath, the breath tries hard to get the oxygen back again. So it's a wonderful little thing. So I sometimes use that, just my breath. Thank you so much for breathing. Never let me down once. All these almost 67 years. Thank you so much. And when I look at my breath like that, because I look at it with kindness, it's like it smiles back at me. The breath becomes that little bit more happy, more joyful, easier to watch. So look at my breath, breathing in. And then it's so easy to get engaged with your breathing. You're watching your breath go in, go out. It's wonderful, loving kindness. May my breath be happy. You can go in whatever way you want. I'm not going to force you. If you know that your breath disappears because I fall asleep, that's fine. Thank you so much. I'm not going to ask you to do anything more breath. Just watching the breath go in and go out. It's really lovely meditations that way. So anyway, if you do have a good state of mind, don't spoil it. Just see what is necessary to keep it growing, maintain it, and even develop it. So restraining, abandoning, developing, and maintaining. These are the four. I'm busting my mind. These are the four. These are the four endeavors were taught by the Buddha. By these means, a diligent meditation in its very life can attain the destruction of suffering. So those four, they call them right efforts, but right strivings doesn't really work. Right endeavors, getting closer, but right stopping, it's right saying no. Just to stop bad things coming in the mind, keep good things coming in the mind. They're in the mind, find a way of getting them out. Just like the health of the body. The health of the body, enough good food, good things coming in, exercise, rest. How do you keep a healthy body? Keep pushing it, striving. You really get great health that way. Understanding your body, looking after it, resting when it needs rest, exercising when it needs exercise, just learning how your body works. You get good health, you know you got good health, you maintain it. You get sickness, how you can deal with sickness, so those diseases can leave you. So this is actually the right efforts with the body, the right efforts with the mind. Anyway, so any questions or comments on that? Okay, I'm just going to go on to the start of the Satipatthana, but just see how it links up. The seventh factor of the Eightfold Path is called the Four Focuses of Mindfulness. Sometimes it's called the Four Foundations of Mindfulness, but the foundations doesn't really what does it mean, foundations? The foundations are, the concrete, the bricks of what you build this building on. But it's really where we put the mindfulness, the focus, where we direct it to is important. Get rid of over this silly stuff as well first. The four focuses of mindfulness lead in one direction only. That word in Pali is called a kayana. Some mischievous monks, and I have to call them mischievous, they call it the only way. And it never means that way. It's not even way. It's ekayana. It's not ekayana. That's just wrong Pali. It's not ekayana, it's ekayana, a going. And so even all the commentaries, all of the people who know Pali would always say this does not mean the only path. The only path is reserved for the Eightfold Path. So people do that, and they put this sometimes mindfulness above and beyond what it was meant to be, like a one-fold path. It's not a one-fold, it's an eightfold path. The four focuses of mindfulness lead in one direction only, to the purification of beings, to going beyond sadness and crying, to the disappearance of physical and mental suffering, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of Nibbana. What are the four? And, being a maths teacher, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's nice to list them sometimes. It's what we're used to. It makes it easier to see. And we can actually compare it now. 1. Having restrained the 5 hindrances, you abide aware of the body, energized, knowing the purpose of what you are doing, and mindful. Having restrained the 5 hindrances, you abide aware of experience, Vedana, energized, knowing the purpose of what you are doing, and mindful. Having restrained the 5 hindrances, you abide aware of the mind, the Chitta, energized, knowing the purpose of what you are doing, and mindful. Having restrained the 5 hindrances, you abide aware of mind objects, energized, knowing the purpose of what you are doing, and mindful. So the objects are the body, the Vedana experience, the mind, and the mind objects. Why those 4? And one of the reasons is that those are the places where we think we have a self or a soul. It's amazing just still how many people feel that their body is the essential part of them. And they don't really die, when their body gets burned or cremated or buried or something. It just, the real spiritual body corresponding to that somehow gets reincarnated in heaven when they die. And Vedana, this is a real me, happiness. The mind, the Chitta, this is the mind consciousness. That is an obvious culprit where people hang the head of an eternal soul. And lastly, the objects of the mind, and that obviously includes the will. So these ones over here, the focuses. But what is really important, having restrained the 5 hindrances, you abide aware of one of these 4 things, energized, knowing the purpose of what you're doing, and mindful. And of course, you see that having restrained the 5 hindrances. What we've just been doing before was in the right endeavor. That is where we practice the restraint. Not just there, but in the precepts as well. What comes before, in the Eightfold Path? Not just right view, the right motivation is where we start practicing restraint. We're doing all these things to make peace, be kind, be gentle. It's to let go. And then from that, we're restraining the physical appearances of our greed, hate, and delusion, our defilements, by keeping right speech, right action, right livelihood. You've seen through this right endeavor, it is to restrain, abandon, develop and maintain wholesome qualities. You can see that is part of the restraining. So by the time you get to that 7th factor of the Eightfold Path, you've done a heck of a lot of restraining. Now some people, if they haven't had a decent translation, they would hear the translation in English, having abandoned grief and covetousness for the world. Don't know if you've heard Satipatthana before, and that's what I heard, having abandoned grief and covetousness for the world. And I thought, what does that mean? And one of the wonderful things about doing studies and learning Pali for yourself, when the first time when I read through the suttas in Pali, not in English, but in Pali, you came across again and again the list of the 5 hindrances And the first hindrance was mostly called kamachanda. This is in Pali, but about 40% of the time it was called loke abhija, which is what is translated a few moments ago, covetousness for the world. And there was this obvious, maybe 50 or 60 times. It was a synonym, an alternative, for the first hindrance. Most times the first hindrance in this list of 5 hindrances was called kamachanda, 40% of the time. 60% of the time kamachanda, 40% of the time loke abhija. It was the same word. So the first part of this was having not abandoned the grief and covetousness for the world, it was having restrained that first hindrance. And the second word, what was called grief, it was called domanassa. And there was only two places where in the whole list of the 5 hindrances, that took place number 2, another synonym. And of course, the Satipatthana Sutta, as in 2 places in the Sutta Pitaka, one the Mahasatipatthana in the Digha Nikaya, that's the long discourses, the other one, number 10, in the Majjhima Nikaya. And they have what they call the commentaries, written a long time ago. And in both of those sutras, the commentaries say, yes, loke abhija domanassa refers to those first 2 hindrances. And they also said that when the first 2 of a group are mentioned, it means a whole lot of a group. It's just the nature of that language, its idiosyncrasies. So the Eightfold Path would sometimes be called right view and right view, right motivation, etc., instead of going through the whole list. So what that meant, the arguments were very clear, and it makes the Satipatthana much more understandable, having restrained the 5 hindrances. And of course, those 5 hindrances, it's not just the concern for the 5 senses and ill will. It's not just the wanting and the ill will. It's the sloth and torpor, the restlessness and remorse and the doubt. Those are the 5 hindrances. And if you've got any one of those, you're not really sort of being mindful. You got sloth and torpor, are you mindful? Then I wasn't asleep during the meditation. Yeah, sure. Your head was down here somewhere. I'm not restless. I'm not restless. I'm not restless. I'm always here. I'm just whatever I'm going. When you are restless, you can't be still. So be honest about it. If you're restless, you're not here long enough to really see anything. Just like that simile of walking up the hillside, the eyes see something and then something else lodges it, and you see something else, then you see something else, then you see something else, and nothing is fully formed. You can't see deeply into it. So in this restlessness and remorse, that's part of restlessness, sloth and torpor, of course your mindfulness is incredibly weak. And if you want something, you don't see what's there, you see what you want to see. When you have ill will, you don't see what's there, you blot out what you don't like to see. But there's one last little story. Some years ago, I accepted too many invitations. This invitation, it was to go and give a talk at a primary school on Buddhism. That's not so bad, but they were grade 1s and grade 2s. And how on earth can you teach, this was not a Buddhist country, this was up in Rollystone, just up in the hills. How can you teach Buddhism or meditation to a group of 5 and 6-year-olds? And I was not doing any research. Oh my goodness, I've got to have a whole class of kids. What am I going to do? And there's about 6 of them. Their parents were there as well because they were young and they didn't know who this guy was. the parents were in attendance to make sure I didn't convert them to being Buddhists and get them to shave their hairs, or I don't know what fears they had in that place, but it was, it was quite a strong Christian area. So I sat in front of all these kids, and okay, how can I teach them 5 hindrances? So I said, has any kid here ever, no, how many kids here like rice pudding? This is something simple, rice pudding, very simple dish. And then, oh no, sorry, I did it the other way around. How many kids don't like rice pudding? Isn't it? It's very simple, it's just basically rice and milk and some sugar or something, maybe some jam on top. How many kids don't like rice pudding? And straight away, a couple of kids put their hands up. They probably had rice pudding and they hated it. So they put their hand up, we don't like rice pudding. And you know what happens in primary school? All the other kids looked around, and then a few kids saw these two with their hands up, so they put their hand up. And then a few more put their hand up. And after only about 2 minutes, it was about 100 kids, 2 classes in each level, had their hands up. Yeah, we don't like rice pudding. Okay, put your hands down. And of course the teachers and the parents wonder where I'm going with this. And then I said, now put your hand up if you've ever eaten rice pudding. And only about 4 kids put their hand up. And all the other kids got it straight away. They started laughing. This is, we see what we want to see. And if we decide we don't like rice pudding, straight away, we're not being mindful and aware if we eat rice pudding. We've already decided we don't like it. That is the hindrance. We see what we want to see. We just blot out. Rice pudding is bad, therefore it will taste bad. You know, that happened to me, my naughty, not really naughty life, just young men pushing boundaries. When I had my first glass of British beer, only 14 years of age. I think other people had it longer than that. But, you know, you're supposed to be at least 16 to go into a pub. You know, that's only with your parents. And 18, I don't know, can you go in a pub? I don't know anyway, but 18 to buy your own beer. You went in there with your mates, you know, and I'm 18, give me a glass of beer. And I remember, this was in Richmond, next to the Thames. And I remember having my first glass of beer, so exciting. Growing up, pushing boundaries. And my first glass of beer was disgusting. Warm British beer. I know people do say it tastes like urine, and there's some truth to that. No, actually, some people drink their own urine. I'm sorry for the beer is worse than the urine. But then afterwards, it only took about 6 months. I liked it because I had to. You know, this was England. You know, everyone had to have beer. You know, you go, come and have a beer. And it was a social, demand. You had to like beer. Otherwise, you weren't part of the group anymore. And it was so important for me to like that beer. It took me 6 months, but then I started to develop the taste for it, and it was nice. So that was hindrances again. You learn to like things which are just disgusting at first, simply because peer pressure. You taste what you want to taste. And that's really fascinating, just the way that those senses work. So that's actually the 5 hindrances. When those hindrances are happening, you can't trust whether what you taste is delicious or whether it's painful. And every now and again, when I was young, I used to take some chili sometimes, but these days, no way. And every now and again, you see these articles of these chili eating contests. These are crazy people. They eat these jalapeno, and they've got, I forget, some of the monks over there are into this, and they're into what's the really hottest chili, and it burns you. And this one fellow, this is super hot chili. I don't know where it was from, the hottest chili in the world in the contest. And, it went up to his brain and he had these palpitations in his brain. It was really crazy stuff to eat. Fun. To me, that's perversion of perception. It's just the hindrances. That's painful, but you do it because you find it happy. You feel what you want to feel. So that's one of the interesting things. You've got to be very careful there. When those 5 hindrances are there, the mindfulness is skewed. You don't see what's there. You're not aware. You're aware of what people tell you. Is there what you believe? So it's not seeing what's true, seeing what you want to see. Or being in denial of what is a bit too challenging for you. I'll tell you more stories about that later, but that's just the introduction to the Satipatthana, the 7th factor of the Eightfold Path. More to come tomorrow. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very good. So have a wonderful afternoon.